All right. Well, welcome everyone to Illinois Family Spotlight. This is a special video edition. With me today, I'm David Smith, Executive Director, and with me today is David Curtin, who is our IFI lobbyist and political activist in Springfield, Illinois. He's been a longtime political junkie, can I say it that way? Consultant, campaign coach, campaign manager, all these things. And so we are blessed to have him. He's a good believer, Christian man in Springfield, Illinois, and does a wonderful job representing Illinois Family Institute at the Capitol, at the Illinois General Assembly, where it's getting more and more difficult to uphold Christian, Judeo-Christian values. And so we're in the middle of another veto session. This is January 6th. And our state lawmakers are scheduled to be in today, which is Friday, tomorrow, Saturday, and come back in next week before January 11th. January 11th is Sinai Die. The old session is called to an end, and a new session, I think it's 103, right, David?
That's correct.
General Assembly Session 103 begins on January 11th with some new state lawmakers. But in the meantime, they're trying to ram through all kinds of garbage that you need to be aware of. And we're going to make this short and quick, but the Illinois Democrats are trying to ram through a big abortion bill. David, tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, it's kind of the Christmas tree wish list of abortion legislation they've had for the last year. They put it all on one bill, and they're trying to ram it down each chamber's throats before the session ends here. They're working with the old lawmakers. So 20% of lawmakers probably are retiring or changing hands. So they're trying to cut deals with those lawmakers because they know they don't have to face the voters next year. So they've got
there's no demand for this stuff, is there? I mean, really, other than Planned Parenthood and the radical, wide-eyed, Terry Cosgrove types, there's no real demand for this.
There's no demand for it. It's just it's really their wish list that they're really trying to get through, and they are buoyed by the election results, and so I think they can try to get this through.
Right. So, in other words, you're going to give cover to the new guys coming in by putting this bill on the back of some of the old lawmakers. And it's a wish list, like you say, of everything they can do to make abortion more, the abortion industry more friendly in the state of Illinois, right?
Yes, and really what they're trying to do is grow an industry. In this language, they are really trying to grow the abortion industry in Illinois and be the Midwest capital for abortion.
That's right.
I think we already are now. Yes, we are now. But they want to be bigger than California and New York. They want to be the place. And so they're breaking all the rules to make new rules to do that.
Right. So we can talk a lot more about this because, last year and the year before, they passed all kinds of legislation to make it easier to do abortion, to do away with all the restrictions that we had, including parental notice of abortion. So parents of a 13-year-old will never be notified if that child doesn't want to notify his or her parents, I should say, about an abortion. It's just horrific. And a lot of us, I've heard that, well, at least it can't get any worse. Well, let me tell you, friends, it can get worse, and they're working on legislation to do this. So we can't remain silent, no matter what. I know we may be in the minority, but you know what? We can't let this go without complaining, without picking up the phone, calling our state lawmakers and say, hey, do not pass any more abortion legislation. Do not pass this. We are not for this. If they don't hear from us, they think they agree. The public agrees.
Yeah, and would you like to hear a couple specifics of the legislation, David?
Go for it.
Okay. The main thrust of this legislation, that's got 15 million parts, but they want to have non-doctors performing surgical abortions.
Like nurse practitioners, right?
Practitioners, physician assistants, those are two that are in the bill. However, they also want to recruit others from other states, midwives, other people who are licensed to do surgical abortions. They're wanting to recruit them to this state to fulfill the demand. So this is really a recruiting tool. This is a recruiting tool for babies to be killed, and this is a recruiting tool for providers to come to the state so we can kill more.
You know, Lori Higgins termed the phrase abortion cheerleaders a few years ago, and that's exactly what they are. They're cheerleading the abortion industry in Illinois. The numbers have been like 40,000 abortions in Illinois a year, and those numbers could easily more than double now that other states around us have restricted abortion, outlawed abortion, and so now they're expanding the service, quote unquote service, in Illinois, which is pretty devastating. And if we think we can get away from God's judgment on this, we're fooling ourselves. So Christians, not only do I ask you to please phone your state lawmakers, your senator and your state rep, hey, even call the governor's office, but pray, 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 pray. And I'd say if you haven't been active in the pro-life community, this is your chance to step up. Scripture tells us to rescue those who are stumbling towards death. And that includes those moms who are oftentimes victims who are being coerced into the abortion clinic. So pray for that. Well, there's other things, David. Also, there is so Senate Bill 818 has gotten a lot of parents and community members animated because it's a mandate to teach comprehensive sex education, kindergarten through 12th grade. And the only way a school can opt out of this is to not teach health and safety classes. But now the senator who introduced that bill is introducing an amendment that would require, instead of may teach, shall teach. It's not going to be an option. Schools are going to have to teach this very destructive curriculum. Can you tell us a little more, David?
Yeah, a year ago, they passed this thing for mandatory sex ed curriculum from K through 12. They had an opt-out provision. 70% of school districts opted out. They didn't like that.
No, you know, especially downstate in Illinois, central Illinois, a lot of school districts, hey, even in my little community in Will County, they also opted out. And now they're saying, the state lawmakers are saying, we know better. This is so important. It must be mandated. And they're ignoring the fact, David, that math, English language arts, and science scores are horrific in Illinois. So they're not doing the basics, but they're going to do this social engineering.
Yeah, and it's really taking over the rights of parents too. They're really usurping control of the parents when they're doing this. The opt-out provision was the minimum that could be done. There really should have been an opt-in, but
That's right. That's right.
They're saying they shall teach it. So this is dictatorial. This is coming from down on high. This is something that we in Illinois, this is the time to get involved and show your displeasure, because they're nervous about it, but they know they have the votes to pass it. But they've been getting a lot of feedback. Obviously, 70% of the school districts, opposed it last year. So that's why they've got the votes to pass this, but they need to hear a huge amount of outcry about this, and they may not pass it.
That's right. Plus, there's in April, we've got school board elections. And so this is the opportunity to get behind a good candidate who will refuse to go along with this nonsense, and get behind them and support them. So, and of course, Illinois Family Institute, Illinois Family Action has been calling parents and grandparents and church leaders, Get the kids out of the government schools. This is just one more example of where their priorities are. It's liberal, left-wing, sexual ideology, which is corrosive, damaging. I said the word destructive earlier, and it's going to hurt our children. And so let's get these kids out into good Christian schools, co-ops, homeschooling. We've got lots of options. There's forest schools, there's micro schools, there's schools in a box. There's so many options out there for parents, and we need to take advantage of that. So, but at the same time, as taxpayers, my property tax funds the local schools. We need to be holding them accountable for what they're doing. And as Christians, we love our neighbor. So our neighbor's kids are in those schools, and we don't want them being corrupted and damaged and hurt by this ideology.
That's right, David. And, really people, this is the time to get off the sidelines, because this is a time when they're trying to move. If it's not your family, they're trying to move other families into the Satan's playground here. So this is the time for action. 20 years ago, you could argue or make a debate about it. Today, there is no debate.
No.
The public schools are the training ground for the Satan's playground for the next year. So there is no teaching going on here. There's just forming and indoctrinating going on. They rarely talk about reading, writing, and arithmetic in the General Assembly. Rarely. And this is just so for your neighbor's kids, for your neighbor, for yourself. If you could get involved, this is where the
rubber meets the road. That's right. So, and then again, we'll pray. Keep praying about this. Last thing I want to talk about, and then we'll be done, is House Bill 9, which is another birth certificate change. So now, I guess this bill, if it passes and is signed into law by J.B. Pritzker, which it probably will be, will allow anyone to self-identify as whatever gender they want, and then have their birth certificate changed. Is that right, David?
Yeah, it's in fact, some people were laughing about it on the floor because it's just they can't believe adults would actually pass something silly like this. It actually says that you can go in and request a new birth certificate just if you declare yourself another gender, and you don't have to provide any proof whatsoever. It used to be where the physician says, well, at least he underwent an operation or something. But this is just, they can go in and get their birth certificate. They can come in a year later and get another one, switch back.
There was a bill a few years ago that allowed the birth certificates to be changed, but with the doctor's note saying, hey, look, he's under treatment or she's under treatment for transition. Now it's just your word, and hey, David, how many times a year can I change back and forth? One day I may feel a little feminine, the next day I may feel a little masculine, and the next day I might be confused. I mean, what do you do here?
Here, there you put no time limit on it. So you can go in every other day.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. All right, guys, you see what we're dealing with in Springfield and the lunacy of the Illinois Democrats. This is their priority. This is what they want to do to help Illinois along. All it's going to do is chase more people out of the state of Illinois, and it's really a shame. So please call the Springfield Capitol. The switchboard number is 217-782-2000. Ask for your state rep. And then call again, same number, 217-782-2000, and ask for your state senator. And both times, these three bills, the big abortion bill, which the number is changing, then we have the sex ed mandate, and then we have the birth certificate change. These three bills we're asking you to take action on. Thank you very much for paying attention. Thank you, David.
Thank you.